Me watching the Selena documentary, then Hamnet twice, should be a federal offense. And I'm going to need someone to come check on me at the earliest convenience. All right, welcome to Tait's Take. If you're new here, today we're talking all things Hamnet. And if that's something you're into, hit that subscribe button for your boy. For my regular Tait's Takers, let me get this straight. The Lion King is based on Hamlet, and everybody knew this? Okay, quick background here. Well, probably ain't gonna be that quick, but it ain't my fault. This movie doesn't send me down the deepest Shakespeare rabbit hole, so I got a lot of things I want to tell you. Okay, Hamnet is a new movie directed by Chloé Zhao. It's based off the 2020 novel of the same name that was written by a woman named Maggie O'Farrell. This was Maggie's 8th book. It won a whole bunch of awards and was named one of the 10 best books of 2020. Number 1 was Washing Your Hands with Soap, a love story. Just kidding. Anyway, Maggie wrote this book, Hamnet, that tells a fictionalized story revolving around a young William Shakespeare and his family. In real life, William Shakespeare is commonly known as the greatest writer of all time. This dude is credited with coming up with, inventing, popularizing so many common words and phrases that we use today. Check some of these out. Eyeball, advertising, alligator, whoa. Swagger, who is this guy? Not that one. Good riddance, Love is Blind, whoa, come on. You get the point, but besides his countless plays and poems, very little is known about the actual William Shakespeare, let alone his family. Here's what we do know. Back in 1582, William Shakespeare married a woman named Anne Hathaway. Yes, that Anne Hathaway was named after this Anne Hathaway. Anyway, Anne Hathaway was a 26-year-old that was pregnant with this young 18-year-old William Shakespeare's baby. Scandalous. That kid would be born a few months later as Susanna Shakespeare. 2 years after that, William and Anne had boy and girl twins, Judith and Hamnet, supposedly named after some of their neighbors. Unfortunately, Hamnet would die at the age of 11. The cause is unknown, maybe the plague, but back then, a third of all kids died before age 10. It's freaking nuts. Roughly 4 to 5 years after Hamnet died, William Shakespeare wrote Hamlet. And apparently back then, the names Hamnet and Hamlet were used interchangeably. I guess kind of like Chris and Christopher, but don't you even dare. The point is, many scholars like to deduce that the play Hamlet was somehow inspired by the loss of his son Hamnet. We just don't know for sure. It's not like this dude was writing plays, then going on late night with Jimmy Kimmel and tell people where they came from and why they should check them out. So since we don't know what drew Shakespeare to write his plays, and we don't explicitly know how he felt about the loss of his son, the book Hamnet tells a fictionalized version of what those times could have been like for the family. Now, if we don't know how William Shakespeare felt about losing Hamnet, we definitely don't know how his wife felt about losing her son. The lore around William Shakespeare's infamous wife has been less than stellar as time has gone on. She's largely known as this daughter of a sheep farmer, likely illiterate older woman who trapped a teenage William Shakespeare in a marriage that he didn't want. A woman that he abandoned as soon as he could to travel to London and become this famous playwright. In writing Hamnet, Maggie wanted people to forget everything they thought they knew about Mrs. Shakespeare and open their minds up to a new interpretation. Because if we're being honest, Anne Hathaway is the daughter of a sheep farmer and probably was illiterate. It sounded like B Rabbit in 8 Mile. And I do live in a trailer park with my mom. Okay. Get serious. Anne Hathaway is the daughter of a sheep farmer and probably was illiterate. However, she still came from a very respectable family. And William Shakespeare was the son of John Shakespeare, who done got himself into mad legal troubles, damn near destroying the family name. At one point, John was basically the mayor of the town. Then, basically disgraced. Did you know back then it was illegal to skip church? This dude, John, was skipping the hell out of that thing. And he had wild lawsuits for not paying back his debts. I'm telling you, Papa Shakespeare was out there tweaking. So, taking all that into consideration, this whole time, people have been asking, why would this genius William Shakespeare marry this illiterate old maid? But we might have been asking the wrong question, because why would Anne marry someone as penniless and tradeless as William Shakespeare was? Maybe, just maybe, she saw something in him. And that's basically the idea behind Hamnet, the book. Okay, now how do we get to the movie? All right, so boom. There's a woman named Liza Marshall. She created a production company called Hera Pictures. She's been a big fan of Maggie's writing for years, so she bought the rights to Hamnet before that book was even published. In April of 2023, Chloé Zhao was hired to direct Hamnet. Yes, the same Chloé Zhao that directed No Man Land that I hated and everyone loved, and the same Chloé Zhao that directed Eternals that I loved and everyone hated. Showbiz. But as the story goes, she initially turned down the job of directing Hamnet. Chloé says, first of all, she ain't know much about William Shakespeare, and that's fair. Second of all, she didn't think she could crack the character of Anne Hathaway, or Agnes as they call her in the book and the movie. She didn't think that a woman who wasn't a mother could capture the darkness of losing a child. She said she could actually relate to William, this creative soul basically sitting in his grief. And would you believe that after she said no to directing Hamnet, she was out at some event, ran into Paul Mescal, and tells him, you know, you could play a young Shakespeare. Paul Mescal tells her, wait a minute, are you talking about Hamnet? That book is fire. You gotta read it. At that point, Chloé hadn't even read the book yet. Sometimes the universe just be putting you in the right place. Y'all be thinking I'm crazy, but sometimes you gotta just do shit. Chloé agreed to read the book, and when she finished it, she reached out to our buddy, the author, Maggie O'Farrell. She tells Maggie, I want you to write this movie with me. Matter of fact, if you don't say yes, I'm not doing it. So, of course, Maggie agrees to this, and they both have credit for writing the screenplay. Now, in the book, Maggie uses a non-linear structure. Flashbacks, shifting point of views. First thing Chloé asked was for Maggie to rework the story into a chronological form, which makes it much more suitable for the big screen. In early 2024, as it would go, Paul Mescal and Jessie Buckley were announced that they'd be playing William and Agnes Shakespeare. Filming took place that summer in the UK, along with the news that Steven Spielberg will be joining the project as a producer. Hamnet had its world premiere at this year's Telluride Film Festival, then went on to win the prestigious People's Choice Awards at this year's Toronto International Film Festival, where I was. Hamnet is going to have a limited theatrical release starting on November 26th. Then it's going to open nationwide 2 weeks later on December 12th. The film comes to the UK on January 9th. All right. Plot time. Well, I kind of already told you all the plot, but in the effort of consistency, Hamnet basically tells the story of a young William Shakespeare through the eyes of his wife, Agnes Shakespeare, as they navigate the loss of their son, Hamnet. As I mentioned, there's so much we don't know about William Shakespeare and his family, so this is just a fictionalized tale about what life could have been like as they navigate this tragedy, and how this tragedy could have inspired William Shakespeare's many plays, of course, including Hamlet. So what's my take? Yeah, this thing is going to win the award. This is not my favorite movie of the year, but I did very much enjoy it. And I could see a very nice night for Hamnet at the Oscars next year. Couple things that I liked that stood out to me. First and foremost, the performances. Again, this is not my choice for Best Picture, but Jessie Buckley playing Agnes Shakespeare is my choice for Best Actress. This is what they call in the biz a masterclass in acting. From the second you see her, you're obsessed with her. You want to know everything about her. You laugh with her, you anger with her, and you definitely cry with her. Now I want to watch everything that Jessie's in. She's also going to be playing the bride of Frankenstein's creature in The Bride next year, so make sure y'all check that out too. And it's not just Jessie though, the whole cast is fire. Paul as William finds a new way to be this flawed husband and father. He's not abusing her, he's not cheating on her. He's a creative mind that feels that he can't do what he's like destined to do at home. So he leaves. He loves Agnes. He loves his family. I could just see this as a realistic portrayal of what someone in that situation would do. And you're hardly watching this thinking, oh, that's William Shakespeare. In the book, they don't even say his name, and the movie waits. So the script and Paul do an excellent job of 100% humanizing this dude. You gotta love the kids in this movie too, especially Jacoby Jupe, who plays young Hamnet. And Jacoby is actually the younger brother of Noah Jupe, who y'all all know from A Quiet Place. And he's also in Hamnet. But yeah, Jacoby as young Hamnet isn't on screen so much in this movie, but it's powerful. This kid is only 12 years old, but when you hear him, you know he's an old soul. You could just see it from the press tour. But yeah, from large parts to small parts, honestly, everyone in this cast is great. The next thing that I liked about this movie, I talked about it in the beginning, just like this idea that Shakespeare is one of the most famous figures in history, but we know almost nothing about his personal life. So giving Maggie and Chloe this like almost like a canvas to create a story how they see fit and not have to worry about what happened and what didn't happen. This is just their fictionalized telling of what it could have been like. Okay, my interpretation of the movie is that Chloe and Maggie are using like two main themes to guide their narrative. All right. Number one, this idea that scholars have largely, put forward that William Shakespeare likely wasn't so broken up over the loss of Hamnet because child mortality was so high back then. Listen, I would like to believe that even back then, and kids were dying so tragically young, that a parent was still a parent and the love was the same. And no matter what, you wanted your child to live a long and fruitful life. So it should not be out of the realm of possibility that William Shakespeare was heavily affected by this. Okay, number two, addressing another popular talking point in the idea that William Shakespeare just didn't love his wife, Agnes. The scholars will say, well, he fled to London, leaving his family in Stratford. And the only thing he says about his wife in his will is that she is to have the second best bed of the house. Two things. Starting with the freaking will. Back then, it was implied that a wife would be entitled to 1/3 of the estate no matter what. So he didn't have to include that. Second of all, the second best bed probably wasn't what we would call like a slight. It could have just been the bed that they slept in. So it might have been low-key romantic. So there's that. Second of all, fleeing Stratford to go to London, yes. At the time of Shakespeare retiring, he was what we would know as a modern-day celebrity and a multimillionaire. At the end of his career, he went back to Stratford to live with his wife. So with all that fame and all that fortune, he still pulled back up to the crib to live with Agnes. That doesn't mean he's in love with her. These are just the facts that we do have that allow Chloe and Maggie to move in a direction that they find suiting for their story. We can debate this until the end of time, and we probably will. But I just thought those are like two cool pieces of framework that Chloe and Maggie were working off of, you know? Last thing I'll touch on here, this is a sad movie, yes. We're dealing with grief. And we're dealing with one of the worst types of grief, the loss of a child. But this movie isn't using cheap tears. It's not sad just to be sad. And it's not only sad. We get to spend time with this family, working, having fun, and seeing them love each other. And that's something our director, Chloé Zhao, was very intentional about. They're obviously on set filming these extremely heavy scenes. Chloe would implement these weekly dance takes where the whole cast and crew was literally in these 16th, 15th century outfits just dancing around the set. Apparently, Chloe is a student of Tantra, which is this ancient spiritual practice of releasing energy and emotions through the body. So they was out there shaking off these heavy-ass scenes. My man Jacoby, who plays young Hamnet, he was so moved that he requested an off-cycle dance take. Chloe was doing these every Friday, but when they filmed the scene of him dying, it wasn't a Friday. He was like, look, I'm going to need one of them dance takes. What song did my man request, you ask? Of course, Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. This kid's not an old soul. Look, there's a lot of heavy themes in Hamnet, but I think the idea that they're trying to convey is that it's like real life, and our grief doesn't define us. Even if it feels like it's an avalanche, it's just proof that there was once great love, and that love has just taken a new form. Grief will always be, in my opinion, the price of love. A lot of people are going to resonate with this movie and feel all the things, some more than others, of course. But don't you go in there afraid. No. Because we have marching orders from our director, Chloé Zhao. Chloé said that when people watch Hamnet, she wants them to be in a safe space to feel all the feels. And she wants us to know that it's not just William Shakespeare that can alchemize his grief. We can all work to use our pain and try to make something positive. Hamlet's available right now in select theaters and will open nationwide on December 12th. As always, thanks for checking out Tate's Take. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. In the comments, have you read the book Hamnet? Are you planning on checking out the movie Hamnet? Did you cry in either of those things? Did you grow up reading Shakespeare? Did you know that The Lion King was based on? There's a lot of heavy stuff, man. 1 second. This dude, Hamlet, said, grief fills the room up of my absent child, lies in his bed, walks up and down with me, puts on his pretty looks, repeats his words, stuffs out his vacant garments with his form. Then I have reason to be fond of grief. And they want me to believe he wasn't sad about his kid dying? Come on, bro. Thanks for the time, y'all. Peace. Okay, I don't know if you guys ever heard this, but they asked Shakespeare to help translate the King James version of the Bible. I don't know how it goes, but he couldn't take credit for it. So this was all happening when Shakespeare was 46 years old. And in that Bible, in Psalm 46, if you count 46 words in, you get the word shake. And then 46 words from the bottom, you get the word spear. So I think people have largely debunked this. First of all, who figured that out? You guys are nuts. Second of all, whoa.